Closer. Good. Erev Tov, everyone. This week's parsha regarding Avram Avinu. So it says, "Vayita Avram Eisho Beersheva." Avram Avinu planted. So the simple explanation is that he planted a tree. Eishel is a type of an oak tree. However, Chazal looked at it and said that on a different level, Eishel represents the midah, the value system of Avram Avinu, that he was machnis orchim, that he was interested in helping people. So Eishel became the acrostic for Achila, Shisia, Lina, others say Achila, Shena, Levaya. It's the acrostic that he made an inn. And wayfarers had a place to sleep. They had food to eat. They had liquid to drink. And they had a sense of security to put them on the road again to where they had to go. So the Balaturim on the Posuk of Yaakov ben Osher, so he says 3 times in the Torah we find the verb vayita, which means to plant. But there are very many nuances to that verb. So we find it first in Gan Eden. Vayita Hashem Elokim, the Lord God planted the Eitz Hadas, the Eitz HaChaim, in the middle of Gan Eden. And then we find it by Noach. Vayita Noach Kerem, he planted a vineyard, and then we find it now by Avram Avinu. The Balaturim says these are the 3 places in the Torah where this verb occurs. And one of the ways of understanding the Torah is to see where the exact same verb or word occurs, because that teaches us something to understand why it is being used. So what's the connection with the planting of the Eitz Hadas, the Eitz HaChaim, and the Gan Eden, and Noach with the Kerem, and Avram Avinu here with his Achnos Orchim program that he brought with him. So Rabbi Hirsch points out that the word, the Hebrew Lashon HaKodesh is a very sparse language. It's unlike English, which has, I think, 630,000 words. And Lashon HaKodesh has 1/10 of that. And you have to therefore see every nuance in the word itself, because in one word is contained many times many words. So in Vayita, there is also contained the verb to make a mistake, taut, litot. So what the Torah is teaching us here is that all three times that we find Vayita, you have to realize there is a potential cost in the matter. It's not a free lunch. So the Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyachol created the Eitz Hadas. Now the Eitz Hadas is the basic value system of civilization. Human beings are curious. They're inventive. They're creative. That's what separates us from the animal kingdom. But the Eitz Hadas is dangerous. It comes with risks. The Eitz Hadas brought death into the world. I always wondered, why should anybody ever volunteer to be an astronaut? So today you could say, well, 90% of the time it works. But when it began, I mean, why should anybody do that? Because it's the nature of the Eitz Hadas. It's in a Chava has to eat from the Eitz Hadas. That's human. Even though she herself says, the Yom HaCholcha Mimenu most almost, that it's dangerous to do it. But that's the nature of human beings. So the Rebbeinu Shalom planted that within the world that he created, so that human beings are always willing to take risks, even though the risks are great, even though often they can be fatal. Noah. So we know that a kerem also brings a great blessing to people, but it also brings within it a terrible, terrible danger. But Noah can't find it within himself to resist. And even though it ends up being his undoing, he's the one that did it. He planted the carrot. So it's interesting that, for instance, by a wedding, by a bris, by a pidyon haben, by Shabbos, by Yontiv, we always start Borei Pri Hagafen. Why? Because that's considered the premier agricultural accomplishment of man. To be able to grow grapes and make wine out of it. We won't discuss grape juice here now. But the idea is that that's the cheshivas. That shows something that's important. But implicit with it is this terrible danger. Certain people that have a genetic disposal to alcoholism. So that's a terrible, terrible danger. I remember my dear friend, Dr. Tursky, so he was the head of the alcoholic rehab in the Catholic hospital in Pittsburgh. It was his field. Alcohol, drug abuse, etc. Substance abuse, that was his field. So he told me once that the Archbishop of Pittsburgh had become an alcoholic and that he retired from his position, so he took a leave of absence. And Torsky spent 2 years with him. And he straightened them out to the extent that you can be straightened out. But he told him that he could never again in the rest of his life drink one drop of wine or liquor, because that would set him off again. So then the Archbishop came back to him and he said, I have to resign, even though I've been cured, because he said, I have to perform the Mass, and that's with wine, and I can't do it. So Tversky told him, he said, we have a great rabbinic leader, Rabbi Feinstein, and he has written us a letter that grape juice is as good as wine. So the Archbishop sent the Shiloh to the Vatican. True story. And the Vatican wrote him back after 3 months. They looked it up in all the Meforshim. And they said, well, we agree with Rabbi Feinstein that grape juice is good. So, and he did grape juice the rest of his life. So, in the blessing is always a danger. It's not something that it should be seen lightly. You see, Rahman al-Islam now, younger people in the yeshivas, and you go to Kiddush and 16, the malts and this and that. It's an explosion waiting to happen. So that's Noah. Avram Avinu took Hachnas Zorchim, that's what he planted within us. That also has a cost. You have people, cost money. A lot of the people are not necessarily people that you like. They don't always behave well. They certainly may not agree with your value system. So Vayita means that he implanted. He implanted that midah, that value within us. So that even though there may be a cost to it, we're willing to risk it, just as we're willing to risk the Kerem, and just as we're willing to risk the Eitz Hadas. And that's why Chazal, when they looked at it, when they said Vayita Eishel, so we have to look at it, not that he planted a tree, which he did, but that doesn't teach us anything. Avram Avinu is not an environmentalist. It's Achila, Shasiya, Lina, Achila, Shena, Avaya. He implanted within us values, but values always cost. They always have a downside, so to speak, to them. And that he implanted within us as well. And therefore we make the bracha b'chaye olam nota b'sochein. The Rabbanu Shalom implanted within us chaye olam, eternity. Everybody wants a piece of eternity. You want to be remembered. We don't want that, the 80, 90 years and that's it. Therefore, that's why the verb vayita is so important, because of the ideas that are connected to it and the lessons that the Torah wants us to learn from it. Rabbi Hanania ben Akash Omer, Rotsa HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'zakas Yisrael, Leficha chiver lahem Torah mitzvot shene'amar, Adonai Tzadkei Tzemach Tzidko Yavil D'Rav Yadir.